Hey, what's going on everybody? Justin here, and in this video I'm going to be sharing my TBR for the upcoming History Challenge Readathon. If you don't know what that is, definitely check out my announcement video down below, and I will leave the announcements to my 3 other awesome co-hosts as well. It's 2 weeks and 2 extra days, just because we felt like tacking the last 2 days of August on as well, of just history-based nonfiction reading. History just doesn't get its day in the sun, I feel like, on booktube as much as it deserves. So it's really cool seeing a history-based readathon, and I hope you all join in, or at least kind of just look into it and kind of get your minds thinking about history and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, I'll leave the announcement down below, and there was 9 prompts this year to kind of get you thinking about different things, and let's just go ahead and get started. I think I'm going to hit all 9 prompts with, I think, what do I got, 1 2 3 4 5 books I'm going to try and finish in those 2 weeks, which is definitely doable for me if I don't, just slack off and then just start trailing off on bunny trails and opening up a bunch of other books that, that I'm not really planning on doing. But let's just go ahead and get started. I got my notebook here so I don't forget any of the prompts and whatnot. And let's just, go ahead and get started. All right, the first book I want to talk about is Ravenna, Capital of Empire, Crucible of Europe by Judith Herron. And this is a pretty beefy tome here, but it's on a really cool topic. Ravenna, if you don't know, is a city in Italy, and for quite a while is actually for the last 100 years or so was the capital of the Western Roman Empire. The city of Rome itself sort of fell into kind of, I wouldn't say backwater status, but it was past its prime, we'll say. During the Tetrarchy and the dominant period of Rome, it definitely kind of had lost some of its luster and whatever, and there's a couple other cities that were the capital, and eventually Ravenna kind of stuck in as the sort of a new capital of the later Roman Empire. But what's cool about this book is it seems like it delves into sort of both the Roman period, then kind of the German barbarian period, for example, the Ostrogoths, things like that. And then we also are dealing with kind of the different interactions with Byzantium, during the Gothic Wars between Justinian and obviously the Goths over Italy. That's sort of really what kind of ended the classical world in much of Europe, and really put everything kind of on the barbarian kingdom footing and whatnot. But it just seems like it's going to be a lot of history, a lot of social history as well, kind of cultural stuff, kind of all kind of just melded together really good. Just from flipping through it, looks like there's a lot of kind of on architecture and art, things like that. So pretty much everything sort of dealing with the whole just like I said, the culture of Ravenna and why it's important to history. And I think that's kind of cool. Late antiquity, this is what the prompts are. I start off the easy one with a book on my favorite time period in history. And late antiquity, as I've explained in a couple other videos, is probably my favorite time period to read about. Kind of like I said, that 300-ish CE to 800 CE, something like that. And this book is smack dab that entire time period. Plus it looks really just really awesome. I think the artwork was done really good, kind of designing the cover and whatnot. But like I said, just complete late antiquity in this book. And also it's a book authored by a woman as well, so knock off 2 right there for that one. All right, next up, I might as well do the audio book before I forget. And I definitely had to write the subtitle for this one. And this is sort of a way I'm cheating in to get some of my, biology, life science, nature writing into a history-based readathon. Because, I'm going to do that, basically. And the book is Every Living Thing, A Man's Obsessive Quest to Catalog Life from Nanobacteria to New Monkeys by Rob Dunn. And what this is essentially a history of taxonomy and classification and cladistics and everything like that, it seems to be. So it's still definitely a history book in the sense of you're kind of going through time, there's definitely going to be vignettes on Linnaeus and stuff, obviously for sure. Probably Pliny, Aristotle and stuff. We're going to be dealing with things like that, people starting to categorize animal into genus, species, and kind of getting the ball rolling on that sort of stuff. Obviously with a lot of newer stuff in the last 200 years as well. But like I said, it's definitely a history of taxonomy, organizing things. It's definitely a really big thing in biology, especially obviously dealing with living organisms and whatnot. So like I said, it was just a way for me to kind of sneak in some, biology or life science stuff there. And this is kind of going with the prompt for to read a book related to your hobby. And if you guys know what Seek and iNaturalist is, I really enjoy doing outdoorsy stuff, and I use those apps to kind of like identify plants and animals and insects and different things like that when I'm out and about. So it's definitely a hobby of mine. People like, will be like going on a walk, and I'll just like, tell everyone to hold up so I can like take a picture of a flower and then try to figure out and identify what it is. If you haven't been able to tell with all these like field guides and stuff that I have here, it is definitely a hobby that I have, really enjoy doing it. So it's kind of cool, kind of learning about kind of all the people that went before me, before there was field guides and, apps on our smartphones to kind of go about and do that. And one prompt that is probably going to be like, I think almost all my books here are going to be part of it. And that is the prompt of read a book that takes place on a different continent than the one you live on. Ravenna obviously takes place mostly in Europe. There might be some like kind of Middle Eastern stuff as well. And then obviously kind of with like the text on me, that's kind of like, the whole world, but probably focus kind of like on Linnaeus, if I had to guess. But anyways, be as it may, let's go on to the next one. And we're going to be doing Planet Walker by John Francis. 17 years of silence, 22 years of walking. And for what I understand is in the 70s, the author, John Francis, took like a vow of silence and just kind of went on like a walk around North and South America, because to kind of sort of protest like these different like oil spills and stuff that were like kind of happening and things. And I'm not 100% sure, but when I heard about it, I bought both this book and he had another one, The Ragged Edge of Silence and things. And I purposely been trying not to look too much into it. But like I said, just the whole concept of taking a 17-year vow of silence and protest over like kind of an environmental issue, I thought was just, I don't know, really cool. I have no idea really how the book's even gonna, I assume it's like written when he's done and kind of like writing back on it, but yeah, without any talking and stuff, I don't know. It's going to be like kind of an interesting read. And this one fills several prompts. Obviously, like if we're dealing with South America, that's kind of a book on a different continent. Obviously, it's a book written by a Black author, and also there's one other prompt that was the biography and memoir prompt. So yeah, I thought that was pretty good, filling that in for that. I wanted to say there was like another one. Oh yeah, the history of a social movement. Duh, I was talking about like, the environmental protests and kind of like the grassroots things that he kind of like helped contribute to and things. Like I said, just sounded like a really interesting title. I have really no idea like what the book is actually going to be about. Like I said, I'm hoping it's kind of just like his kind of explorations as he was like kind of like roaming around and things. But yeah, so there is that one. And then lastly, this is the one I'm still vaguely undecided about. And wait, am I missing one? I lied. There's two more. Don't listen to me, apparently. This is the one for the prompt of to relearn a school topic, which is sort of like, in school, a lot of things kind of get passed over real quickly or kind of are misconstrued or, kind of ambiguous or kind of, not the whole truth or something like that. And I'm gonna go with the very controversial topic of the Crusades. It's a bunch of like the Christian knights went over and beat up the infidels or whatever. I feel like the Crusades thing is like, if you like, especially like on history forums, like in Facebook groups, like I used to be like a part of it and stuff. It was a very contentious topic and stuff. And I gotta say, I'm gonna say both sides were pretty bad, but I'm going with the Fourth Crusade and the Sack of Constantinople by Jonathan Phillips. And this is because the Fourth Crusade really doesn't get any attention. There was actually like 7 or 8 major crusades, and we're not even talking about like the Northern Crusades and all that stuff. But what people don't realize is, besides the first and third ones, which are what everyone like actually like learns about, the Fourth Crusade essentially was a bunch of the Christian crusaders kind of go on crusade, sack a bunch of like Christian cities like on like the Adriatic coast and stuff, and then like sack Constantinople and then get excommunicated and things. And that's basically it, because like the Doge of Venice wanted them to do, and that was part of the bargaining stuff. But anyways, they didn't make it to the Holy Land, all that kind of stuff, and it pretty much doesn't get covered because it looks really bad for them, because it was really bad. Unfortunately for Constantinople, this really was, it was already kind of like leaning on its way out, and this was just like one of the major blows where it like never really recovered from after it. Like I said, it was kind of crippled, and then this just the last 200 years after the Fourth Crusade were just, you know, essentially Constantinople and it's like Emperor was, you know, the Byzantine Empire. But anyways, like I said, I've never actually read a book on just the Fourth Crusade, though I've read like little vignettes from Doge, like Dandolo, Enrico Dandolo, I want to say was his name, and he was like in his like 90s, and he's blind, and he's like the Doge of Venice, and he's like a major player like the Fourth Crusade and like rallies the men and stuff. It's kind of crazy. So it's something I want to like, you know, relearn, learn more about, figure things out. So there is that one. Obviously, that one's always on another continent as well. Now, I think that only leaves the translated work, if I believe. So hopefully I didn't miss any there. And I had several ideas for this one. I felt like maybe actually going out and finally reading Mark Bloch's Feudalism, or Ganshoft's Feudalism, which are the two kind of seminal works, sort of opposing ideas on the whole concept of manorialism and feudalism in medieval Europe and stuff. And as I was doing that, like kind of contemplating which one to get, I got some book mail, and I haven't hauled this book yet, but it will be in my next Folio Society haul video. And I got this awesome Folio Society book, Livy, The War with Hannibal, which is books 21 through 30, if I remember correctly, of Livy. But just like, look how awesome, like kind of the panoply there is of like the Roman armor and things. This is part of like a set of like 5 books. I think there's another, I think Livy's like early history of Rome, like Herodotus and Thucydides, and then I think Tacitus. And they all have like the different panoplies of the armor of the time period that they're talking about and stuff. But I've never, sad to say, as all the history I've read, I've never actually like read Livy straight through. I've read several fragments, obviously with like my studies and different passages and things like that. But I've just like never like sat there and just like read through it. So I'm thinking this might be a cool time to actually try and do so. Obviously it's got like lots of really cool plates. You know, it's just a really nice Folio Society. As I, you know, I flip and get like note plates and stuff. Folio Society books are awesome. But check out my other like Folio Society videos if you're into that sort of thing. And obviously that's a work of translation from, you know, the original Latin and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, that came in the mail and I was like, yeah, that one fits too good to like not use almost. And the Punic Wars is definitely like one of my subjects that I really love reading about. So there you have it. Those are the books that I plan on reading in the History Challenge coming right up in a couple of weeks. Like I said, the 16th through 31. Let me know if you are participating down below. Definitely several other people have like kind of commented on like what they're reading and stuff. Definitely let me know if you are and what you plan on what you plan on reading as well. Always on the lookout for, you know, other people kind of joining in and all that kind of stuff. If you made it this far to the video, thank you so much. Definitely check out my Etsy shop. It's the best way to, you know, support the channel, like the shop, like the items, buy some. Obviously, if you're, you know, feel inclined to do so, definitely check out the Instagram, Twitter, everything like that. And always remember, whether you're participating in the History Challenge or not, read victoriously.